You're going to just ask me, right? And I just get to answer questions?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, interview style. And look at the camera or look at you?
You can do whatever you want to do. So
Right, this is my bad side. Hang on.
Oh, do you need to switch sides?
No.
Good morning, woodchuck chuckers. Happy Groundhog's Day, and it is cold and wet in East Texas today. Man, we have not had school the last 2 days. We've had temperatures hovering right around freezing and lots of rain. Got out of school early on Monday, and then no school yesterday or Tuesday and yesterday. Never really got bad here. We kind of were right on the line of just kind of water, rain and frozen rain. We got a little bit sticking, we got a little bit of ice and stuff in some trees, but nothing major. Thankfully, I know some of the bridges and overpasses were a little squirrely, but nothing real bad that I'm aware of. So we stayed at home for the last 2 days and sat by the fire, ate a lot of food, played some video games, took some naps. Just, sitting around, thankful for a warm and dry place to be in. The break was nice, but I think everybody, I know me and Benita, we're ready for everybody to be back at work and at school today. So this week we're playing a little bit of catch up. So got to do a lot to get ready for Sunday. Headed to the church right now for a meeting, and then I want to introduce you to somebody. All right, so this is my friend Tim Williams. He's pastor, Gladewater Baptist Church in Mount Pleasant, and our churches are partnering and for however long, and we're coming alongside them in some replant and regrowth, and so we're trying to meet regularly, us and our director of missions and our pastor and possibly some others. But Tim, tell us a little bit about kind of what we're doing and what God's leading both of our churches in.
This is Zach Tomlinson, and he's here. I just had to do it. So really excited to not know what God is up to. That's really what everything boils down to. Is when I was called to this church in December of 2021, there was 9 people that were holding the church up, and faithful servants, 150-year-old church when I got there, and a lot of folks. We have members of our church who have been at our church for 91 years. Wow. In 2 weeks. So really incredible history, gospel presence in the community north of Mount Pleasant. It's kind of a rural church. And we said, okay, what does God want to do in this community? And after a year of prayer and just building relationships, I've been blessed with the opportunity that next thing you know, I come to meet with you, and Pastor Kyle is like, we've been praying about this too. So we don't really know what this looks like, but God's really been working in our body. We are very excited for what is to come in the future. So, but to not know, I listened to Pastor Kyle preached a message about sometime last year on Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, and he said sometimes you just have to say, I don't know, and that's kind of where I feel like we are.
Yeah, and neither one of us or any of us have really done anything like this before, but we know that this is where God's leading.
Absolutely.
And so we're excited to see kind of what that looks like. And I think I shared this with you, but some of my best times in ministry have been when I know God's leading. I don't really know what that's going to look like, but I try to be obedient and step out and follow him. And so I feel like that's kind of where we're at, that we've met and talked, and we're praying about different things and what things may look like. And I know you've done a lot of research and different different things. That's an understatement.
That's an inside joke.
That's an understatement. I didn't mean it to be negative. But no, that's good. Like to know, okay, you've looked and are other churches doing this? Have other people done this? And you found some resources and some things like that. But just to know that is where God is leading us, and we're going to step out and do what we feel like He's called us to do, and some of it we'll kind of figure out. We know He'll continue to direct us in a lot of that, but some of it's going to be some trial and error, and just stepping out and seeing what God does. So
back in the day when they said after the invitation song, you'd always hear a prayer and "you are dismissed." Well, we started about a year ago saying "you are sent." And this opportunity is just opened the door wide open. God has just flown the door wide open to our mission of making disciples of all nations. And instead of, it's really changing the idea that church is limited to a four-wall building, but rather we are deployed. And I think church work, ministry is best done outside of the four walls of the church. And I'm so excited that because Emmanuel has a culture built on that with Celebrate Recovery and Unity in the community and all the other ministries that have occurred over the past 65 years, to be able to say, hey, look, 65 years ago we were a mission of another church, and now we can go and turn around and redeploy back out into the world of ministry. And that's something that's incredibly encouraging to me. And as a believer that didn't come to faith until I was 25 years old, I thrive for that. And so I'm super, super pumped about what God's going to do, and I don't even know what He's going to do. I don't even know what it is yet.
One of my favorite things about the Bible is just how honest it is, and how the people in the Bible, the people that God used for His purpose and for His glory, were just real people, just like you and me. And there's so many stories of different people just stepping out on faith and trusting God at His word. And one of my favorite is the story of Abram, or Abraham, and that God said that through you, you're going to be the father of many nations. And He took him out and showed him the stars in one story and said, your descendants are going to outnumber the stars in the sky. But it all came down to his faith. It all came down to Abraham trusting God and saying, okay, I know that God is leading me literally to another place, and that He's going to give that to me. And I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know what it's going to look like exactly, but I just need to be obedient and go. And man, our faith is that way. Ministry is that way. That God put something in our life and put something on our heart and says, this is where I want to take you. I've got something better. I've got something bigger. I've got something that's going to glorify me and make my name great. I just need you to step out on faith, and trust me. One of my favorite times in ministry was when something similar happened. We had these 3 college students that all had gifting and felt some different calls into different areas of ministry and ability to serve. And I got together with them and I said, hey, what if you guys are all kind of like my youth interns, and each person had some different responsibilities each week, and we just got to do ministry together. And I told them, I said, I have no idea what this is going to look like. I've never done anything like this before, but I believe that God has y'all here for this purpose for right now. And some of them weren't here that long because they got called to go do other types of ministry and other things. And so it was a great time in ministry in my life to get to work together with those guys and to pour into them, and they poured into me. We got to encourage each other. We laughed a lot, and we just got to share the load and serve these students together. And we had a blast together doing it. And if I had overanalyzed and said, oh, but we've never done this before, I don't know how this is going to work, maybe we shouldn't do it, then I don't believe God would have blessed in the way that He did. And I'm not to say that I get that right all the time, but just that, man, the times in my life where I have been obedient and stepped out and trusted God, He has shown up and shown off in a way that only He can. So I just want to encourage you this week, whatever it is that God is leading you to, you may or may not have all the answers. Most of the time you don't, but God just says, be faithful. Just take this step, and then I'll show you the next step. And then take the next step, and then I'll show you the next step. Because that's the way God is. And if you know that God is calling you to do it, then just take that step and allow Him to do great things in your life. thanks for being here and watching this video. I'll try to kind of keep you up to date on everything with Gladewater Baptist Church throughout this next year, but just excited to see what's going to happen there. You know, sub, like, do all the things, and until next week, walk humbly. See ya.